The blog site The Sun reports that Wendy Williams' memorabilia, including her iconic chair, has been thrown away in the trash. So when I say on my podcast that the staff and everybody involved, including Sherry, I don't care what none of you have to say, it's fake as fuck.
How dare you? Who are you?
No, wait, no! Ah, sorry.
Yeah. Welcome to another brand new episode of the Kris Avalon Show.
Unfiltered.
Well, welcome to Hollywood, where's a bunch of, where's full of fake ass motherfuckers. If y'all want to keep it real, come over here because I just give it to you raw and uncut and unfiltered. The real tea. Anyway, hey y'all, how you doing? Since she ain't using them, I'm gonna start using over here. Welcome to the Kris Avalon Show, aka Kris Avalon Unfiltered, where we are going to get into the latest celebrity dish, hot topics, and LGBT news. 2 hours of all of that and a whole lot more. So those of you who are watching live, hey y'all, how you doing? Again. So, we got a lot to talk about. Hopefully, those of you who are watching live will come in and chime in on your opinions. I will definitely, if y'all are here, because I know a lot of y'all be watching and lurking, live for it. So those of you who will be watching the live, definitely leave your comments. I'll be reading it back throughout the show. And for those of you who come in later on and watch it, the recorded episode when it's up all on the YouTube and lingering over on Twitter and Facebook, definitely leave your comments and stuff, and I'll respond, this way, with the good old iPhone chair. So anyway, thank you all for watching and tuning in every week. I know I'm always on colored people time, but you know what? I am a colored person, so therefore it is what it is with the time. We're going to get a real legitimate time soon, but you know how we do. But anyway, so be sure to hit the hashtag KA Unfiltered all over your social medias. Definitely follow me at Kris Avalon on all my social medias. Instagram, the Twitter, the TikTok, all of that good stuff. We got a lot of stuff to get into. We're going to talk about Wendy Williams. We're going to break it down. There's a whole lot to break down. I'm going to give my final thoughts on the final episode and Wendy's 13-plus year legacy with the show over there on Fox, whether or not they did her dirty. I'm gonna give my opinions on that. We're gonna talk about Jennifer Hudson and her upcoming talk show. We're gonna talk about Beyonce and his new album. A new renaissance is coming next month. I can't wait. We're gonna talk about Monique has finally put her little lawsuit to bed with Netflix. They've come to an agreement. We're gonna talk about it, and the alleged amount of money that she was paid, even though they were kind of vague with this story. We're gonna talk about Diddy. Cassie's husband seemed like she done dragged him out the closet just in time for Pride Month. We're also going to talk about Kim Kardashian, big old ant-shaped ass stretching out Marilyn Monroe's dress, and they claiming that she damaged the dress. Well, apparently, this, Ripley says that she didn't damage it. I'm getting my thoughts on that. Cardi B is talking about this controversy surrounding Lizzo's new song and this whole ableism thing. I'm gonna get my opinions on that. Some of you might not like what I got to say. I don't give a fuck. This is why it's called Unfiltered. Because I'm going to say what I'm going to say, whether you want to hear it or not. And we're going to talk about Scream 6. There's some drama going on with that. Neve Campbell's foreign castmates, two of them that was killed off, one in Scream 1 and the other one is from Scream 2, is giving their thoughts about Neve Campbell and the way she's been treated with this whole situation. And I'm going to we got to talk about these Scream fans and the racist comments they've been making towards people like Jenna Ortega and a lot of the cast who, let's be frank, if you watch the Scream 5, the majority of the cast was people of color. And apparently the racist Scream fans are rearing their ugly heads and making little comments. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Plus, we got LGBT news in the other hour, the second half of the show. So basically, tune in. But before we get into that, I want to address two things. One, I want to talk about the J-Lo documentary that just premiered on Netflix this past Tuesday. And we're going to talk about Drake's queer album that he just released. Child, I didn't know somebody could release a gay album than Todrick. But here we are. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, let's get into this whole J-Lo thing. So I watched the J-Lo documentary. I actually watched it today. I didn't watch it when it first came out. I woke up this morning, made my breakfast. And then I was like, let me just sit and did my laundry. I was like, let me just sit and do this J-Lo documentary because I was debating whether or not I was going to go. I need to go clothes shopping. There's a lot of things I need to do. But, grown man things. or grown man things. But nevertheless, I did watch the documentary. And I thought it was pretty good. It was a well put together documentary. We got a little bit into J-Lo's personal life, and basically it just highlighted, all the hard work that she's put into it. We're not going to get into the whole her using people's vocals and the shadiness of, the stuff with Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola using. Like, we've talked about that to the cows come home. I just want to focus on this documentary and how they put it together. And it was cute, and how she was a woman of color who had to really go as far as she did to get where she was, and how she was able to make those moves. And you know what? Shout out to Benny Medina for holding her down for 20 plus years of her career. Because who else he representing? But because once upon a time he did represent Will Smith, but that's a whole nother story. So I watched the documentary. I thought it was pretty good. Seeing her and the kids, and basically the whole idea of her saying that it wasn't until the whole children in cages situation came around, because she says, I'm not a political girl, blah, blah, blah. So I said, child, we've been knew that, because you always try to toe the line on doing what you need to do to get in the good grace of the industry. But then you realize, because we're going to talk about it with Wendy too, regardless of how hard you try to get in bed with these Hollywood elites, they still look at you as the S word. SP, I don't need to spell it out. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna spell the whole thing. Same thing with, people, when you Black, they look at you thinking, oh, I'm going to just dilute my light or dim my light or say what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to act like Herschel Walker and all these other coons to get in, the door with these white people. But they still look at you as another field slave, another house N-word. So you either just focus on what the whole idea of what you do, what is the whole purpose of you being an artist? Is it to win awards? Because they basically followed on it wasn't just about the halftime special. It was also about her being in the movie Hustlers, and how she was like, when she was in her 40s, those roles were not coming in. And so she had just had the kids, she had Max and Emmy, and then the divorce happened with her and Mark Anthony, and her career was at a standstill. And that's when she got American Idol. And then it wasn't until she started turning 50 that she started to be like, you know what? I need to look at my career as like, okay, I got to start creating things with substance. I got to really start taking my own career into my own hands and being like, what are those things that I need to put out there that needs to be done? And I applaud her for finally taking initiative and doing those things, because I actually thought Hustlers was a good movie. I liked it. I thought she was going to get the Oscar nomination. She got the Golden Globe nomination. She didn't win. They gave it to Laura Dern. And she was basically saying it wasn't necessarily about me. It was basically giving validation to the people who have been with her throughout her career. So she felt like she let them down, because all the people that worked with her, the crew, the hair, the makeup, a lot of the people that work behind the scenes to help her get to where she is, especially Tommy Mottola, her manager, Benny Medina, and then Elaine Goldsmith is her name, who is her co-producer. It validates them, because it's like all the hard work that they put in paid off. What I didn't know was that the people that worked on Hustlers was mostly women. It was directed by a woman. I think the script was written by a woman. There was a lot of women that worked behind the scenes. There were a lot of women that were in the movie. So regardless of the situation, the fact that there was a lot of women working on a set together, that's a strong feat as well, and we should applaud that. And to me, I feel like that Jennifer Lopez has worked hard for where she is. And I saw like a lot of the memes online, a lot of comments. I felt like a lot of stuff that she was saying was being taken out of context. For one, I'm going to defend her. And I be saying a lot of shit about Miss J-Lo, but I'm going to defend her in this. Like, a lot of people were sitting there talking about how there was at one point where she was trying to throw shade at Shakira by saying, oh, I don't want to just diminish this to us shaking our ass and belly dancing. That was taken out of context. That was coming from a place of the NFL execs wanting her to remove certain things from her performance because they felt that it was becoming too political, which we already know the story about Colin Kaepernick and the knee and how they treat people of color who play in sports. And there was a lot of controversy around it because a lot of artists did not want to perform in the Super Bowl because they started seeing a lot of these not racist, I was going to say racial, but then I changed to racist. These racist connotations that were illuminating over the NFL. So she said that there was at one point, do you want to keep the kids in cage? Because she saw on TV that these kids were being kept in cage. This is all under the Trump administration We're not going to get into the whole politics of that situation, but this is what I'm going by what she said. She saw the kids in cages, it came out on the news, and then inspired her to get more political, even though she said she was not a political girl, but she wanted to have something to say. First of all, they did the whole co-headlining thing, and they felt like it was kind of tacky with, oh, y'all feel like one girl can't do a show on her own, that you need to have Shakira up there. So I don't know what the intent behind it was, but I felt like the NFL was trying to cover their ass because of all this controversy that was happening. So they thought, let's get these safe artists up there that aren't really going to push the boundaries. So that's where the whole idea of her daughter Emmy singing Born in the USA, even though Shakira was like, I don't feel like why would I sing that when I'm from Barranquilla, Colombia? Like, she's not from America. But then we do allow, America's supposed to be about inviting immigrants in, that sort of thing. So that whole thing, where she was talking about, it was from a place of frustration because the NFL was trying to cut things out of the show. And she was like, and this was the day before she was supposed to perform. So they're like, oh, I think we should take the cages thing out. I mean, that's what's happening. And what you're worrying about is white people getting up in arms over it. But then we saw afterwards, the people loved the performance from both of them. I thought they both did a phenomenal job on what they do in their own right. So I think that was what their fear was. And let's be frank, a lot of the NFL execs, the hires up, they were and are supporters of Trump. A lot of them had Trump in their little boxes, supporting him, endorsing him, all this other stuff. So let's not forget the bigger picture. So I applaud Jennifer Lopez for that. So a lot of people were trying to say her delusions and this, that, and the third. And don't get me wrong, I be saying the things I say about her and all this other stuff. However, I was going to defend her on that. People were taking what she was saying out of context instead of waiting to see the documentary. So I say, definitely check out the documentary if you can. It is inspiring, especially if you want to get out there. And then she talked about her relationship with Lupe, her mama, and how she beat her and all of them. And one of my friends jumped in and made comments saying like, so this is not news. Was she trying to get points? And I said, no, that's not the point. She was talking about her relationship with her mother, how she butted heads with her mother on a lot of situations, when she said at 18, she left her mother's house. And there was a lot of drama that was going on. They butted heads on a lot of stuff. So I feel like in a lot of ways, the way Jennifer Lopez is, she's one of those, and I think a lot of us artists, kids are like that. We're always trying to find a way to please the parent that's harder to please. J-Lo with her mother, with my father, or I think maybe both of them in their own way. Like, I feel like in so many ways, my mother's is like, do what you need to do. Like, she built me up to be like the stronger person that I am today with the street smarts, all this stuff. My father, mostly on the business side, but he's someone like myself that at times do not like to show emotion. He's a Leo, I'm a Virgo. So we have our own things in a way where it's like, we don't show our emotion in certain situations. We're all about our business and all other stuff. So I feel like in a lot of ways, I'm always trying to please or showcase like, see, look what I did. Like, give me my... And I think that stems from a time where I was in school and I got an A, and I was like, see, look, I got an A. And then my father was like, well, you could have came home with an A+. So I think that came in, and he said he was joking, but when you're a kid, that resonates with you and that hits you hard where it's like, oh, now I got to overachieve because what I got, even though I worked hard for it, is not seen as good enough. And my mother got on him about that too. But for the most part, it's sort of like, yeah, it comes across as like, it's like, regardless of what I do, it's not good enough. So it's, excuse me. Ooh, that water felt good. It's one of those type of situations. So definitely check the documentary out because it is worth the watch. And it's inspiring. So shout out to another thing. Let's talk about Drake's new album. I listened to that album. And while I applaud him for taking a chance and doing something different, especially like incorporating house music into what he was doing, bitch, why your non-singing monotone vocal ass trying to sing over some damn dance beats? Now, don't get me wrong, the beats was hitting where it needed to hit, but me trying to hear Drake singing, and I live for the memes. Like, the memes, y'all were giving me my life. Number one, I'm gonna be honest, I was not gonna listen to this album when I heard about it. I wasn't, because for personally speaking, I'm not a Drake fan. I've tried to get into his music. I've actually given his albums a chance, but I could never get past the first 3 or 4 songs. Afterwards, I'm like, I don't get it. It doesn't resonate with me. I'm not feeling it. like his music always feels like that. Like there's no ebb and flow, which is very much like with this album. It just felt like I'm here listening to the same beat over and over and over again. There were no highs and lows. It was just none of that. It wasn't like it was no transitions. It all felt like the same type of beat, the same subject matter. You were talking about the same topics. It's like, was this one song cut up into like a bunch of different tracks? Like, I wasn't feeling it. So, I know a lot of people out there talking about it's a great record. Look, child, it was giving me H&M. It was giving me, Dwayne Reed. It was giving me, it was giving me Zara. It was giving me just basically elevator music. Like that's basically what's giving me. Like you go to the store and you doing your shopping and it's just playing that Drake record in the background. That's basically what she was giving me with that. But shout out to Miss Butch Queen of all Butch Queens, Drake, for putting out a gayer album than Miss Todrick during Pride Month. So shout out to her. And let's move on. So let's talk about Miss Wendy Williams. So yesterday, they aired the final episode of Wendy Williams' show. 13 seasons, 12 greats. Well, okay, we'll go with 10, 11-ish good seasons. Because season 12, she barely was at work. Season 13, she didn't show up at all. And that's when all the mess started to, spiral. So they aired the final episode yesterday. Sherri Shepherd was there to do the final week. And it was a shit show. I'm not going to lie. I thought the send-off was trash. It was cute that they did the montage, but they did. Don't get me wrong, but the montage they put together of the stuff was great. That shouldn't have been 7 minutes. Why are you giving her 7 minutes of 13 years she put into your fucking show, 12 years, for the time she actually showed up in season 12. We're not going to count season 13 because she wasn't there for season 13. Excuse me. But the 12 years that she put into the show, 11 and a half. She showed up half of season 12. So we'll do 11 and a half seasons. Me and my math. The math is a math thing. Then math this season. Y'all could have paid that woman her damn flowers. But y'all didn't. It just goes to show how shitty and trashy this fucking industry is. And why you need to own your work and your own IP. I know it's a lot harder to be independent. Trust and believe. I'm an independent artist myself. It's a lot harder. But at the end of the day, you get to create and put person that says yes or no. You don't have to be at the mercy of some executives. And it's unfortunate that Wendy Williams' show went out the way it did. And we got clips that we're going to play. I got something where Jason Lee talks about it, and I'm with him 100,000% on what he said. We're going to play that in a second. And we're going to play Nortman's response about the whole Wendy Williams debacle as well. But first, let me just set everything up. So Wendy's ex-husband and former manager, Kelvin Hunter, is speaking out about what had happened in the final episode, and he ain't with the shits. Here's what he said. Now, her husband was in the midst of a lawsuit with the daytime show's production company, Deborah Mercury, blasted the final episode as a travesty, saying, "I feel like it's a travesty on the part of Deborah Mercury to have such an unceremonious departure without Wendy being involved." This is what he said in a statement to Entertainment Tonight. "It is the first time in the history of talk shows for this to be done, especially for a show that has been on for more than 10 years, Hunter 50 added. There is absolutely no reason why a bigger celebration that involved Wendy couldn't happen." Now, I do agree with that. I feel like there could have been a way that they could have involved her. Now, I understand that maybe Deborah Mercury was trying to save face because, they did say, and I don't make the news, I just report it. They did imply that they reached out to Wendy, but based on the circumstances, she declined, but she wishes them well. I don't know how true that is. That could be just Deborah Mercury trying to save face because they know and they are aware of the backlash that they are receiving right now. So while Sherri Shepherd is was laying around in the beginning, all happy that she's getting this opportunity to headline her own talk show, the way that Deborah Mercury went about the whole situation was fucked up. And unfortunately, I think now Sherry is realizing that she's been used by Deborah Mercury and they've taken advantage of her. They basically use her as a scapegoat for their bullshit, for their shenanigans, for saying, oh, well, because, you know, we were with Wendy, she brings in the ratings, she trends on social media, this, that, and the third. But since you're not showing up to work, now we need to chop you. Now your services are no longer needed. And Wendy has always been that person, excuse me, from the beginning that was like, I never miss a day of work, because if I miss a day of work, that gives someone else an opportunity to slip in and take my spot. She's always had that attitude. Wendy has never missed a day of work. Even when she was on bed rest with Lil Kev, she had them set up a studio in her bedroom so she could do the Wendy Williams radio show. I think this is when she was in Philly, from her bedroom, because she couldn't be physically in the studio. So Wendy's always had that work ethic, that tenacity to always push more above and beyond the average person, which is why her legacy could be unmatched. That is why she is the icon that she is, whether you like it or not. You can't just diminish her, oh, she talk bad shit about people. So does fucking Harvey Levin, but y'all don't give that same energy to that motherfucking queen. But you want to sit and talk shit about her. Why? Because she a black woman? And yeah, I have my issues with her where sometimes when she said certain things about the LGBTQ community. But what do you expect? She's messy. And that's what the gays live. We live for the mess. We live for the debacle and the shenanigans. So, and there was a period where, yes, when she made that comment about men wearing dresses and leave things to women, that there was a period where I was like, okay, I ain't fucking with her no more. I can't watch her show. Because now you sounding homophobic. Which he's been accused of in the past. But those little nitpicks aside, and the fact that they would push the gays and the drag queens and shit to the back, even though those were our biggest fans, because they wanted, or maybe it was the network telling her, you know what, those fans, those gay fans and the third, you kind of need to push them in the back, because now you're in the big leagues and you need to be trying to cater your show to Barbara Beer Can. Or Joe and Jackie Beer Can. Middle America, the housewives, the ones that's sitting home watching your show while the rest of us are working and getting our lives. You need to be pushing your show to the family woman, the housewives. I mean, look, those times are changing because there's more women out here working anyway. And, doing the whole career thing. So I'm with Kevin on what he said. However, you still ain't shit, because you know what? If it wasn't for you out here being the mess that you was and your indiscretions and fucking Sharina for 15 damn years, giving that bitch a damn baby. Shout out to Journey. You unfortunately stuck in a fucked up situation because Kelvin couldn't keep his dick in his goddamn pants because he was feeling a kind of ways over Wendy and pushed that woman back into drugs. Excuse me. And some people can sit out here and do every drug under the sun and it don't affect them. But when you look at people like Wendy Williams, where you use drugs and eventually that will affect your physical being over time, unfortunately, she's in that category. And I feel like her use of drugs over the years may have caused a lot of these physical ailments in her body. I ain't no doctor, but I've seen it happen. So it's unfortunate, and I think it's messy the way they went out. So you know what? Myself, and I'm sure many others out there, will give Wendy her proper flowers. Since Deborah Mercury pussy asses couldn't do it, I wouldn't even do business with them bitches because it was just shady the way they went about it. And it's unfortunate because you know what? Now the Wendy fans are saying, you know what? They're not going to support her show. And me being in the media, I'm going to watch because I give people a chance. And for grist, we're talking about grist for this mill, I have to watch so that way I have context of when we're going to have these conversations, what the true tea is going to, I have to get my opinion on it. I was like, okay, so what is Sherry going to bring on her own without the backing of the Wendy fans? Because I hope she don't think that, oh, the Wendy fans are going to come and tune into my show. Like, who are the Sherry fans? The same fans that listen to Kirk Franklin music? Like, do they watch talk shows? The Yolanda Adams crowd? Like, I don't know who Sherry's crowd is. She was, Jesus take the wheel. That's Sherry. Sherry told us things about church and, getting in relationships with fucked up men who take advantage of her. Both the husbands took advantage of her. I mean, I was gonna say something bad about Lil Jeffrey. Let me not go there because we don't talk about the handicap. So I'm gonna just leave that be. Leave that alone. We don't talk ill of the children. Remember, they was talking about Blue Ivy. Blue Ivy looked like my goddaughter, actually. She, that little girl, she's pretty. I like to read some pictures of her with her daddy at the basketball game. Blue Ivy is definitely a pretty girl. Y'all was throwing shade on her at the beginning, especially Miss Santana. We talked about that last week. Definitely check out that episode if you will hear what I had to say on that. But let's get back to Miss Wendy. So now they're talking about what was implied in the beginning of the show. Basically they're saying that Wendy's keepsakes will be thrown out. It's not going to go into storage or whatever the case is. You know how a lot of times that they do with people's memorabilia or studio stuff, they put it in, in storage. So they're saying the wigs are still there since she didn't come and get them. So they're being thrown out. And this is what a source close to production told The Sun, adding that Wendy's famous big purple chair will meet the same fate. The chair is just going to be thrown out, the source said. Production is not even bothered to try to donate the chair to a museum, like The View did with their original table after 10 years. They gave it to the Smithsonian. Now, rep from Wendy Williams' show did not immediately return any comments. And this is according to Page 6, who's reporting this. And the funny thing is, if you look at, if you go on Wendy Williams' YouTube, because normally that's how I watched her show. I don't watch regular because I'm not here to watch television. I'm working. So usually when I watch talk shows and stuff, it usually ends up on YouTube. And every episode of Wendy Williams is up there for the week, except yesterday's episode. And I think it's because there was so much backlash from the fans and so much shade being thrown on social media that they didn't even bother to put the episode up. And I feel bad for Sherry because you know what? This was a dream of hers, and your dream is off the back of someone else's pain and misery. And Devin Mercury needed a quick buck to make. They all wanted to keep their jobs, and unfortunately, they fucked you and used you to keep this shit going, this whole charade. And unfortunately, you're gonna be the one to suffer at the hands of it. So, Sherry, this is your opportunity to try to take matters into your own hands. I mean, I don't know how much matters you're gonna be able to have, especially you see how dirty they did Wendy Williams. Don't think you ain't gonna be exempt. That you're exempt from the same type of fate. You saw what they did to Jerry O'Connell after his sneak peek didn't last beyond the sneak peek, and you see what they did with Nick Cannon in that messy ass show. 3 episodes in, I was like, this shit's gonna get canceled. I knew it. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with her show. And now, last but certainly not least, they're saying Wendy did speak on what is gonna be happening with, beyond the show since it's not coming back. Now, in an interview with Extra's Billy Bush, she revealed what she has for her fans, saying the following. She sat down with Mort Marcus and Ira Bernstein, the two heads of Debra Mercury, the production company that owned the Wendy Williams show. She wanted to be clear that she loves those guys. Wendy told Billy parting ways was amicable, and they all agreed, which is funny hearing that because I just read an article not too long ago from The Sun saying that she was in denial about everything that's been transpiring with the show, that she doesn't believe the show was ending and she wasn't going to participate. Or maybe Debra Mercury was thinking that because her health was declining, they didn't want to embarrass her by having her come on because they saw the Fat Joe interview. And then recently, when I was on production before we came live, I saw a clip online of her coming. I think she went out to dinner and she was going back to her apartment and she got out of the car and she was trying to walk on her own because normally she's always holding on to somebody. So she was walking on her own to the door of the building, And she was trying to open the door. She couldn't open the door because the glass door was heavy. Now, don't get me wrong. Them doors do be bad heavy. They really do. So she tried to open the door. And she couldn't open it. So a lady comes over and tries to help her open the door. She opens up a little bit. Apparently, the door wouldn't open all the way. So she wound up helping Wendy go into the building through another entrance. But looking at Wendy, she looked very frail. She looked like she could barely walk. Like a lot of her, like she was having like a lot of the neurological stuff, like her brain was trying to connect to her legs and stuff to walk. So I feel like the lymphedema, all these different things have taken a toll on her body, and it is affecting her. But she did imply that she has a podcast deal with iTunes. I do think that is the perfect choice for her. I've been saying from the beginning when we was doing Drinks and Drag that doing a podcast is a good idea. That is something that she should do. I've been saying that from the beginning. That Wendy would be good at doing, like, she comes from radio. Podcast is the next step. She's conquered the radio world. She's conquered TV. Now she's got to conquer podcast. So podcast makes perfect sense. So I would definitely love to see that, but we'll have to see if she's coherent enough to be able to navigate doing a podcast. She's going to need someone of a Norman type of level to navigate her through that. So we'll see. Now, the last topic that I want to get to before we get to those clips. You know what? Let's actually let's play the Norman clip and then we're going to play the Jason Lee clip because there's something I want to get to. There's a story that came basically talking about how Wendy is sitting in her house. She's not taking meetings. She is, you know what? Let me get this out of the way and then we'll play those clips because then we can wrap up because I feel like it all kind of flows in. So they're saying that she has this deal with iTunes, but a close source to the former host is claiming she don't leave the house. And she has no recollection of anything. So how is this show going to work? We'll see. They said there's no plans for her to return to the big screen, and she would need tremendous support if she did. Saying she needs a teleprompter and needs someone there to remind her of things. She is sitting in her house. She isn't taking meetings. She isn't going out. There is no plan. So I don't know what's going on. So we're just hearing a lot of conflicting stories. This whole thing is a shit show. And at the end of the day, it's just unfortunate the way they've treated this woman and how she's gone out. Look, at the end of the day, Ellen DeGeneres was able to come back and with all the controversy surrounding her, close out her show. But I get it. The difference between Ellen and Wendy, besides being white, and she being a white woman and Wendy being black, is the fact that Ellen is not sick. Ellen is not having any kind of physical ailments with her body, so she can show up and do the whole proper send-off because that's the professional industry Hollywood thing to do. If Wendy was in a situation where she was being a bitch at work and this, that, and the third, she wasn't having these medical situations, she would be able to kind of do what need to be done in regards of signing off. But maybe physically she wasn't able to. I don't know. I guess we'll never know the truth about it. All we could do is speculate. But before we close this whole story out, let's just get to those clips. Let's play Nortman's thoughts on the final episode, and then we're going to come and let Jason Lee speak facts about the dark side of this industry and why ownership of one's IP is important. So, roll those clips, please. Ooh, neck.
If you put your brand in the hands of them people, they will do whatever they want to do. And this is why Hollywood Unlocked and the Jason Lee Show and every other thing that I create cannot be owned by them people. And I may never be as big as I believe I can be because I will not sell out. I just can't. You know, it's really sad to see how they handle Wendy Williams, bro. Like, and to every content creator out there, do your best to stay hungry and never thirsty. Focus on ownership. Focus on owning your brand. Focus on controlling your property. Because you don't want to work your whole life to have some niggas just sell your shit or in your shit and fuck off your whole legacy like that. You can say whatever you want about Wendy. She this, she that, she was this, she that. I don't know none of that. What I know is that I talked to Wendy yesterday.
Everything he says is basically what I fought for a lot in my life. Like, I've been doing this for close to 20 years, almost 2 decades. I've been in some shape or form. I've been doing entertainment news, be it the original Kris Avalon blog when it was on on Google, when I know a lot about websites and stuff. And then I was writing for, there's been so many iterations. I had the Kris Avalon blog. Then I discontinued the KrisAvalon.com blog. Then I went over to Tribe. Now Tribe is no more. Yeah, that's breaking news, bitch. And now KrisAvalon.com is back. I'm putting a lot of content on that. I've decided, as of this week, when I launched it on Monday, it's a soft opening, a soft launch. But I changed all the stuff. So you go on my link tree, you go on these other places, you will see the website is up. I've even changed all over my Facebook and everything, so it's there. I even changed on my Twitter, so you see my website and all this stuff. Like, I'm gonna get to the Norman clip in a minute, but shameless self-promotion. So I was like, you know what? It's time that I take my own narrative into my own hands, and I need to focus on creating my own brand and pushing my own narrative. And that's what I feel like people need to do. People get so caught up in the fame and the accolades and one of that instant gratification and the other, which was another thing that J-Lo was talking about in her documentary. It's like, you got to realize, okay, so what is the bigger picture that you want to focus on? Is it that you want to win awards? You want to have all this money? You want to be rich? You want to have all these different things? Or do you want to create things that are going to impact someone's life? Because for me, what I had to come to gripes with was, at the end of the day, if one person reading my website, and I get the messages sent to me on Messenger, people hit me up and say, like, you know what, I love what you do. You remind me, like, there's very few people that I watch and people that I read about and stuff, and I literally come to your stuff for the tea because you give it like it needs to be given. Like, I've been compared to other art. Like, Wendy Williams has been a big influence on what I do, on a lot of us. Like, she is someone who has inspired me. I thought about the whole acting and this, and I'll get into that eventually. But my primary focus is I like creating my own shit, creating my own narrative, and owning my own product. I own KrisAvalon.com. I put in the money. I paid for that shit. So I own the website. I own the name. I own Kris Avalon Unfiltered. I own Drinks and Drag. I own all these different things. So while the numbers may not be there where I would want to be getting the 6,000 or this will go viral, that'll go viral. And yeah, at times I'm like, well, damn, I should be bigger than so-and-so who's out here being, whatever. But I cannot compare myself to that shit. At the end of the day, it's like, as long as I'm doing good work and that one person or two people are responding and loving what I do and this and the other, I feel like that is more important than numbers and algorithms and all that bullshit that so many people focus on to get what needs to be done. But you know what? We spent a little too much time on this, and we're already like 40 minutes in. So I need to get to these other topics so we can get to the LGBT stuff, because I want to get to all the topics that we're going to be talking about today. Because LGBT portion is going to be very political, especially what's going on with the gays. Happy Pride. The Republicans trying to take our shit away and doing what they can to scare the gays. So be alert. While y'all out here twerking on them damn floats, make sure that, we still out here being vigilant. Because remember, Pride started as a protest. It wasn't about Disney and Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo putting a rainbow flag in their window for 30 damn days. And then July 1st, they done forgot you faggots exist. So we going, just remember, Pride is a protest for us to be free to be sexually free. That's what that was about. So don't listen to these hoes that be out here talking about, oh, well, why y'all, the kids? What about the kids? Your kids gonna grow to be faggots too. Relax. So if you seeing kids out here or grown people out here in a damn jockstrap twerking, Remember, when our queer forefathers and mothers were in those bars and in those clubs, trying to be their free, authentic self in their own little safe space, and the police was coming in invading that shit, and people got tired. People of color, like the Marsha P. Johnsons and the Sylvia Riveras and so many others, got tired of being thrown in jail and their tea being put in newspapers so they could be embarrassed or embarrass them for being queer. Remember, that's the true essence of what pride is about. So get y'all education. So when y'all come out and y'all try that slut shaming shit, I will cuss your ass out for that. Don't try me with that. But anyway, I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but I don't need to. But you know, when it's about political. Child, why was we playing? Why was we playing Miss Brooklyn? Miss Brooklyn Juicy from the House of Juicy Couture. We're supposed to play that during the commercial. But anyway, getting back to this, let's play this Nortman clip, and then we're gonna move on to the rest of these damn topics. Hey, Nortman.
Oh my God, it's so bittersweet. I'm so sad, but also so happy to be moving on to Sherry. But Wendy was the best. I will miss her so much. I'm gonna really miss working with her.
Have you spoken to her recently?
No, I actually haven't. I haven't spoken to her, but I'm sure she's doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Quick question: is Wendy invited to this after party? Because we heard of the after party. Was she invited to actually come
I actually
today?
don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea who's gonna be there.
Oh, nice.
I just know I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna be tipsy. That's all I know.
I know that. One more question: when can we see Sherry? Is gonna be live, right?
Yeah, it'll be live September something. Mid-September. No, mid-September.
15th.
I think so. Is that news? Am I making news? Am I getting in trouble? Are you getting me fired right now?
Well, we're excited to hear what's going to be new. Are you guys going to keep Hot Topics? Because Hot Topics has now been, or is that something that like Wendy owns? Or
No, I actually don't know what's going to happen yet, but we'll see. We have like the whole summer to figure it out.
I love it.
But yeah. TMZ. What's up, Harvey?
Okay, Nortman. Child, he was he's giving way more entertainment than Sherry and that damn purple chair. So shout out to Nortman. I'm glad you got a new job. Girl, you better make sure you freshen up your resume because I don't think Sherry gonna last that long. But make sure you got your resume freshened and ready. Because mid-2023, possibly 2024, your ass gonna be unemployed. I don't want to talk shit about nothing, but I ain't no soothsayer. But sometimes I will say, when I speak things into the universe, it usually happens. And I don't see it. For Sherry, I want her show to succeed. But unfortunately, the way Deborah Mercury went about it and went about some things, I feel like the fans are going to take it out on Miss Sherry Shepherd. And it's unfortunate. But it's the way the cookie crumbles. Welcome to Hollywood, yeah. So, speaking of talk shows, let's talk about Miss Jennifer Hudson, who we were talking about Ellen earlier. And her show, they're talking about Lightyear struggling to outpace Jurassic World Dominion. Is that because they got the gay thing in there? Well, we'll talk about that in the second half. But anyway, so Jennifer Hudson's on a high right now. Shout out to her. She's she won the Tony Awards this past Sunday, which made her have that rare feat. She's an EGOT, which means someone who has an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. So Jennifer Hudson's on a high right now. She's definitely doing what needs to be done. And she's not the only one that got a Tony. That show Strange Loop that she produced, RuPaul won a Tony as well, because RuPaul is a producer on Strange Loop as well as Billy Porter. So there's a lot of people who won Tonys, for that play. So shout out to her. And I didn't know Candy did the play. Oh my God, I forgot the name because I was watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, the Broadway play. So she's in an old Broadway world too. The one they did with Tristan Wiles and I think Mac Wiles. You know, I know him as Tristan from 90210. It was him and Dylan Burnside is in it, and it was like the different they're playing like different emotions of black men. I forgot the name of the play, but I did not know them as For Colored Men, is that what it's called? Candy is a producer on that, and I had no idea until they did the episode, and she basically brought them to New York, and they went to go see the play, and they were showing. I said, yeah, I remember that play because I think they had the cast on Wendy Williams, and Sherry interviewed them. So it's funny how all that comes into, in the play. But anyway, shout out to Miss J Hood, who, who's, about to be a talk show host because, she ain't making the music. Although I did see her recently that she said she wouldn't mind doing a versus with Fantasia. And I would love to see that, actually. No shade. Fantasia, in my opinion, is going to win because she had more bops. But I would love to see them, too, do but I would love to see her do a versus. We already know that Omarion and Mario is about to do a versus. I don't think that's going to be good, but it'll be some eye candy for us to watch. I don't know when it airs. Does that air tonight or this weekend? I don't know. I remember I just been hearing that they have a versus coming. But anyway, back to Miss J Hood. So Hudson, shout out to Variety for this team. Hudson's upcoming show titled The Jennifer Hudson Show has been cleared in more than 95% of the country, now officially heading into national syndication this fall. The series will debut on September 12 on the Fox TV stations as its core station group. Now, Hudson's show hails from Warner Brothers, the same studio that was behind The Ellen Show, which just closes curtain after 19 years in the air. Many of DeGeneres' top producers are moving over to Hudson Show. Her show will also be taped from the same studio where Ellen was shot on the Warner Brothers lot. Now, Mary Connolly, Andy Lessner, and Corey Palin, all executive producers from Ellen who have been on the show since the start in 2003, will serve as showrunners on the Jennifer Hudson Show. So, while no shade, I don't see it for J Hood. I was talking about J-Lo earlier. I don't really see the whole talk show thing. Maybe I could be wrong. I am definitely going to check out her show and see what she brings. And I hope it's just going to be entertaining. So, I'm here for it. Now, speaking of major artists that's coming, let's give a shout out to Miss Beyonce. Now, the Beehive, shout out to y'all for being sleuths. This story is on KrisAvalon.com if you want to check it out. The sleuths have definitely been on it in regards to piecing together all the clues surrounding Beyonce's upcoming 7th album. First, they figured something was up when she scrubbed the Instagram clean. Then The Sun reported that Beyonce's team were scouting for locations in the UK for the singer to do some pop-up performances. Well, early in the week, not only did we get an official announcement that my September Virgo sister will be releasing her first solo album in 6 years, called Renaissance Act 1, on July 29th, the global superstar also graces the cover of British Vogue, rocking some pretty Afro-futuristic fashions. Now, no word who produced the new body of work, or I was going to say or sonically what it would sound like, but I did hear, because of the article, that the album is going to be a cross between dance music and country songs. I know it sounds like a weird combination, but country has kind of been a big thing now, especially with black people. Lil Nas X, Kylie Minogue did a country album. There's a lot of people diving in the whole country thing. We got Orville Peck, openly gay. Artist who wears little face masks. He's doing country, and I could see Beyonce doing. Didn't she kind of do country at one time? Was that Daddy's Little Girl song or something or another? So she's kind of dabbled in country music from time to time, and I feel like she put a little soul on it. She'll make it work for her. But the dance music, I'm definitely feel like, Beyonce just wants to make people get up and dance and this and the other, and she did imply that in the article. So so basically it said that British Vogue editor-in-chief Edward Edenfull was lucky enough to get a taste of what's to come from the megastar. Now here's what he had to say. She then asked me if I wanted to hear her new music. As someone who first saw her perform live with Destiny's Child 23 years ago, a moment's walk from my family home when the group played at the Notting Hill Carnival in 1999, I could feel the tingling excitement build as we make our way to her home recording studio. With minimal ceremony, she takes her laptop and plugs it in as we all sit on some sofas. Quietly, the superstar hits play on her upcoming album. Instantly, a walk of sound hits me. Soaring vocals and fierce beats combine, and in a split second, I'm transported back to the clubs of my youth. I want to get up and start throwing moves. It's music I love to my core. Music that makes you rise, that turns your mind into cultures and subcultures. To our people, past and present. Music that will unite so many on the dance floor. Music that touches your soul. As ever with Beyonce, it is all about the intent. I sit back after the wave, absorbing it up. Well, that's basically what we Virgos do. It's everything we do, y'all may not believe it, but it's intentional. I intentionally wanted you to feel that. I intentionally wanted you to know that. Everything we do is very much calculated and meticulous. Like, we think about it before we put it out there. Now, she's been hard at work, I will say, on this album sometime, and with the upcoming release, this is what she said in Harper's Bazaar last year about the album. She said, with all the isolation and injustice over the past year, I think we are all ready to escape, travel, love, and laugh again. Excuse me. I feel a renaissance emerging, and I want to be a part of nurturing that escape in any way possible. I've been in the studio for a year and a half. Sometimes it takes a year for me to personally search through thousands of sounds to find just the right kick or snare. One chorus can have up to 200 stacked harmonies. Still, there's nothing like the amount of love, passion, and healing that I feel in the recording studio. After 31 years, it feels just as exciting as it did when I was 9 years old. Yes, the music is coming. And if y'all want to see all those photos from the shoot, you could definitely head over to KrisAvalon.com, where you can see all the photos, as well as read the rest of the article. So I'm definitely and shout out to Raphael Pavarotti for those photos. They're definitely stunning. I was getting like Afrofuturistic. Thank you for posting some of the photos up in here, because she was looking, it was everything. To me, I'm getting elements of like 70s disco, a lot of Afrofuturistic vibes, very much Grace Jones, like a lot of that. Like, I'm thinking that's what we're going to be getting with that. So I'm definitely excited to see the era of what Beyonce is going to bring. Since Lemonade, that was like, I think the last album that she put out. And her giving for the past decade, excuse me, a lot of social political commentary, especially like a lot of her pro-Black music from, The Lion King and so many other things and side projects that she was doing. It's great that we're getting back to Beyonce doing her own thing on her own terms. And you know what? Since, everybody just be dropping albums like Drake without telling people, just at the drop of a whim, it's good that we have a release date. So I'm looking forward to hearing what this album's going to sound like. I'm looking forward to this Beyonce era. I'm looking forward to seeing the visuals, hearing the music, and really getting my life. I just hope that she's going to serve, because, too many of us, we get so caught up in the hype, and then we're disappointed when the music comes out. So I'm definitely excited for this era. So shout out to my girl, my fellow Virgo sister, and good luck to you, girl. So let's talk about Monique. So apparently Netflix has settled a potentially precedent-setting lawsuit for Monique in a case that could have found that the streamer retaliated against the comedian by refusing to engage in good faith negotiations after she accused the company of discrimination for opening with a lowball offer. Now, both sides on Tuesday moved to dismiss the suit. According to a court filing, terms of the deal weren't disclosed. But, child, I'm hearing, and I don't know how true this is, but the word on the curb is she was paid $50 million. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm hoping that we get to find out the true tea on this whole situation. But to me, whether or not she was paid the money that she feels like she was owed, or they did pay her, where do we go from here? How does this help future comedians, female comedians of color, who are coming up behind Monique? Like a Wanda Sykes or Tiffany Haddish, or, any other future comedian. I can't think of no other ones that would be of that caliber that they would want to reach out to and give a deal to. With some more, or, Alani Love, since pretty much nobody don't like Lonnie. Apparently, Tamar said recently she made up with everybody from The Real But Lonnie. We did last week, Amanda Seales, another comedian. What did they? Oh, she could be another one they could reach out to, and whatever, certain deals. But if y'all saw that Breakfast Club interview recently with Amanda Seales, I don't see Netflix trying to do something with her, because Amanda's not one of those girls that's going to go quietly into the night. She's going to give it to you too. So, Amanda, another one that said that she basically speaks to all the other girls, said Lonnie, so look like Lonnie is just not. The girls ain't feeling her. Might be a problem. But anyway, so how does this push the needle forward in regards to the future of any other female Black comedians who want to come up and get in that space of negotiating a deal, but Netflix wants to lowball them, but you want to give opportunities again to Dave Chappelle, who we are going to talk about in the second half of the show. Also, I know it's like a lot of these interconnecting topics. So I am curious about this. You know, this thing has been going on. This whole lawsuit started in 2017 when, you know, they courted Monique for a comedy special during the time. And, you know, this was when they were trying to get into the whole idea of ramping up its content in regards of stand-up comedians. They basically offered her $500,000 for a 1-hour show. But then she was saying, but how you going to offer Amy Schumer, you know, way more than that? 8 figures to people like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock and Amy Schumer, who allegedly leveraged other comedians' compensation during negotiations and was paid 26 times more than what Monique was offered. So, as the offer made to Monique was merely an opening offer from which there was both by Netflix and Monique of continued negotiations, likely leading to increased compensation being offered. Once Monique engaged in protected conduct by protesting the discriminatory offer, Netflix shut down any further negotiations and refused to negotiate in good faith consistent with its standard practices, saying that basically that was an opening offer. But there was an expectation by Netflix and Monique of continued negotiations, likely leading to increased compensation. So saying that that was just an opening offer, but she was going to make more beyond further negotiations. But when that $500,000 came in, the diva antics came out. It's basically what they're saying. The same behavior that, you know, when she was coming at Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels and Oprah, and most recently the headline and, you know, debacle that she had with D.L. Hughley, and then getting into it with Steve Harvey. So that was an opening offer. They didn't say that was going to be the final offer, but I guess the overall energy and attitude they're looking at is like, okay, now this bitch trying it. So now we're not even going to play ball with her because Sydney probably was doing his shit. But anyway, so I guess we'll never really know the truth because they don't disclose it. So did she make money and all? Is it $50 million? I think Media Fake Out came out with that number. And you can take what they say with a grain of salt, because mostly everything that comes out, they're basically the "we got this covered" of gossip. You can't believe nothing that they say over at Media Fake Out. Quiet as is kept. Okay, so let's plumage through these topics because we're already an hour in, and I want to get to a lot of this LGBT news. So speaking of LGBT news, we're going to throw a little one in here earlier. So now apparently Diddy is talking about his past relationship with Cassie in a new song called Gotta Move On, featuring Bryson Tiller. And Diddy went to explain that the entire song is about Diddy having to move on from Cassie now that she has a husband and 2 kids. Meanwhile, Cassie sat and rode hard for this heifer for I think like 12, 13 years and didn't make an honest woman out of her, didn't give her a baby, and kept her hostage, kept her music career hostage. Like ever since that debacle over at BET where she fumbled that ball performing her song, Me and You, and they looked at her like, what is this mess? Her career ain't been the same. Well, Cassie's husband threw some blind shade at Miss Diddy and basically took the Instagram to kind of go Pride Month on Miss Diddy. And child, you basically said some shit we've been saying for years, but we're gonna go. Here's the post has been deleted, but you know the sleuths, they keep shit lying around, so we can't like pretend it don't exist. So here's what he said: Attached is a charity who helps people that are in the closet gotta move on, along with horses. So happy Pride, Diddy. Because that's basically what it was. And posted like LGBT Foundation, LGBT, Happy Pride to all my LGBTQ plus friends. And then had the whole love in colors in the back and wrote that. So, and you know, for decades, which almost got Wendy Williams almost fired from Hot 97, because Wendy at one point was about how Diddy was gay. And look, Sean Davy Way did a whole Surviving Diddy. I think he did 2 segments of that, talking about them alleged accusations. So people talking about Diddy being gay, that's not news. Like, that's kind of been floating around since before speech replaced sign language. Like, we've been saying all of that. But, you know, I'm not here to out people. I don't make the news. I just support. I'm just saying. So, happy Pride, Diddy. And look, this seems like to be a pattern. Like, you out here fucking with that girl, Carisha, you know, the hood rat from City Girls, who knows what she doing, talking about, what is we? Girl, you know what y'all are. He having fun with you. He not trying to be serious. He ain't never been serious with no woman. And then he has his woulda, coulda, shouldas with Kim Porter after she died. So we see a pattern. Diddy's out here trying to perpetuate a certain image. He's gonna be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Diddy want to be out here having his fun, if you know what I'm saying. I think you do, but he need them women in them and having them babies, so that way, you know, you get to pass on that old money to the nouveau riche. Okay, so it is what it is. Okay, so let's get up out of that topic and this whole thing about, you know what, Ripley. Okay, let's just hit on this real quick. So the whole Kim Kardashian dress situation and how they let her wear it, and then Ripley's is saying that she didn't ruin the dress, and you know, they were sitting there saying all that mess. This is what happens when you take something that's iconic as a dress that was made specifically for one woman that was worth all this money, and because Kim Kardashian has money, Kim has influence and a wherewithal within the world, y'all want her to wear that outfit and y'all let her ruin it. And now Ripley's denying. We saw the damage that her big old cement booty did to the dress. And now Ripley's is trying to save face because they knew they was going to fuck her. I don't care how much weight she wants to lose. When you go sit that big old donkey booty in a dress that's not made for you, bitch, that ain't stretch fabric. That is not the stretch. That's not stretch fabric from Mood. Like, you are giving, like, Marilyn Monroe is freaking couture. You are H&M. Y'all not the same. You are Zara. You give me Zara. So I don't understand how you thought, regardless of your money and your power and your influence, that you're going to be amongst the elite. Bitch, you still, you know, a hoe that did a sex tape. I don't care how much money you got. Just accept your fate and just stop trying to run from it. Just like she's so worried about her kids finding out how, you know, she got where she is laying on her damn back. Embrace it. All the other hoes out here doing it. So, her wearing the coat to try to cover the fact that they couldn't button it up all the way, she ruined the dress. And that was another thing they touched on in the documentary too, how they went in on Jennifer Lopez's body, talking about her ass. But look, you see all these girls out here, a lot of these Armenian girls, a lot of these girls out here paying for the ass that Jennifer Lopez was naturally born with. And these white men commenting on it. But that's how it was back in those days. So she fucked up the dress. And I also, no shade, but I heard there was a story that came out that, you know, the Kardashians was exposed for allegedly staging a family meeting about Tristan. Because I saw that Khloe recently came out talking about Tristan and all this other stuff. Child, you was a whole fool talking about she gave 4, 5, or 6 chances before she moves on. That goes to show she's a donkey. But she should be aware of, like, if you're a sports figure, how that whole situation turns out. So she stayed. Y'all surprised that they staged shit for the cameras? Like, a lot of times when this stuff comes out, it's happening in real time. So for context of a TV show, they have to set up situations and scenarios so that way they can capture it and put their own narrative on something that we've already speculated and gave our thoughts about on social media. Y'all really think these reality shows are real? They're not. Anyway, so let's move on. Cardi B is weighing in on this whole drama that happened with Lizzo recently, because Lizzo came out with a song called Girls and used the word spaz. So social media users accuse Cardi B of being able to get away with saying things that other artists cannot simply use because of her appearance. And so since Cardi B was dragged into the conversation, here's what she said. Y'all will do mental gymnastics to include me in anything that people are getting dragged for. People have called me out for plenty of ish. Y'all do it every week. Some things I apologize for, and some things I will tell you to SMD. And personally, if I was, what she says, tell y'all to suck D. And personally, if I was Lizzo, I would have said SMD, which I agree with, because here's the thing. They said that as a verb, the word means to lose physical or emotional control. However, as an adjective, it is short for spastic, which is relating to or denoting a form of muscular weakness, spastic paralysis, typical of cerebral palsy caused by damage to the brain or spinal cord, or involving reflex resistance to passive movement of the limbs and difficulty in initiating and controlling muscular movement. So, a Twitter user called her out and said, "Hey, at Lizzo, my disability, cerebral palsy, is literally classified as spastic diplegia, where spasticity refers to unending painful tightness in my legs. Your new song makes me pretty angry and sad. Spaz doesn't mean freaked out or crazy. It is an ableist slur. It's 2022. Okay, girl. Now, no shade, but bitch, you need a moment. I already know it. Like, you trying to get a moment. Not quiet as it's kept. None of us is using it in that way. When I say spaz, I be like, I'm spazzing out on a bitch. Like, we use it in a slang term. Now, I understand the textbook term of it and stuff. However, that is not how we're using it. And the fact of the matter, I respect that that's how you feel, but one person's gripe should not be enough for people to just be falling in line every time somebody's offended by something. Because I'm sure that's not the intent in which Lizzo was using it. But she gave in because she didn't want the smoke. She's tired of people, people always going to have some shit to say about you on social media. So I just think this thing is stupid. It's ridiculous. If you want to remove it or whatever to play safe, that's on you. Good for you. Kudos to you. However, I just think this whole thing is just stupid. And I guess color me ignorant for feeling that way. But I just feel like I just don't think that was Lizzo's intent. Using the word spaz. So, and last but certainly not least, let's get to our number one topic so we can move on to these LGBTQ topics, because these are some good ones and I definitely want to get to it. So, to wrap this whole Scream situation, Neve Campbell is receiving love from the ghosts of Scream films past. Now, Matthew Lillard, who starred alongside Campbell in Wes Craven's original 1996 film Teen Slasher, he played Stu Bacher, who I feel pity for you fans who still think Stu is alive. Y'all keep believing, that delusion. If you believe y'all don't believe it, who else will? He expressed his support for the actress on Tuesday during a Twitter Space chat with Midnight Movie Club. Now, it was after the star this week announced her decision not to sign up for another movie due to an offer that she didn't agree she should have been offered. She felt like she should have been given way more, especially since she's contributed so much to 5 of the movies that's been released. Here's what he said. He said, "Did Tom Cruise take less money for Top Gun Maverick? F no, dude. So why is a woman supposed to take less? Why wouldn't you pay her more as the series goes on? Was Scream 5 a hit or not a hit? It was a smash hit. Did they make a shit ton of money? Yes. Should Neve Campbell be paid for the work she's done in 5 movies of a franchise? Yes, because she's a female lead on one of the most successful horror franchises." This is what Lillard, who is 52, added. Jamie Kennedy, who came out in Campbell's corner the same day on his YouTube channel, and Jamie Kennedy played Randy Meeks in Scream 1 and 2, said this: "Hollywood, this is a clear example of how twisted the system is. Sidney Prescott is the center of Scream. Neve Campbell is the face of Scream. Ghostface chasing her through the whole franchise. Neve is the final girl." This is what Kennedy 52 said, adding, "It's crazy that the people behind the scenes are not paying the money to literally the face of the franchise. It's people who weren't involved from the get-go. This is everything that's wrong with the business." And David Arquette showed his support for Campbell during an interview with comicbook.com, saying, I'd love for her to be a part of it. A Scream movie without Sydney is kind of unfortunate, but I understand her decision. It's all about business in a way, and they have to balance all these elements to fit a budget, produce a film. And here's the thing. I understand that the new people, Radio Silence, I love what y'all did with Ready or Not. I had a love-hate relationship with this Scream movie y'all did. Like, I thought there were elements of it that was good, there are elements that could have been better. But I thoroughly enjoyed this first Scream. And I know y'all trying to do this whole thing of passing the baton on to the next generation. But to me, it's kind of like the fans of the original Scream franchise for the past 25 years just aren't willing to let these legacy characters go. And yes, Courtney Cox is the only original woman from all the movies that's coming back. And I don't like the idea that the Scream fans are coming at the new cast, which is predominantly people of color, Mason Gooding, Jenna Ortega, so many other girls. Y'all coming at them, but y'all not giving that smoke to Courtney Cox. Even though this has nothing to do with her, but the Scream fans that are coming in with their whole racist comments and that stand shit, y'all are proving people right with the whole plot of Scream 5, which if y'all seen Scream 5, you know what the plot was about the crazy hardcore fans and how invested and that whole situation. And like I stated last week, you know what? No matter how many Halloween movies you put out, no matter how many times y'all try to tell a different story with Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis will always be solidified with that franchise. Jamie Lee Curtis is forever going to be attached to that franchise. She's always going to be Laurie Strode. She even said it. She was like, when she finally dies, on her tombstone, and I'm paraphrasing because I remember exactly the words, but she said, here lies Jamie Lee Curtis, that, the final girl, the Scream, Halloween star Jamie Lee Curtis dies or something in that context. She said that. It's the same thing that's going to be with Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell is Sidney Prescott. She will always be solidified with that franchise. No matter what other project she does, she's always going to be attached to that franchise. I remember at one point, look, y'all were trying to do a whole passing the baton on to oh my God, what's her name? Danielle Harris playing Jamie Lee Curtis's, Laurie Strode's daughter, Jamie Lloyd, when she was adopted, and they're trying to do the whole thing of Michael Myers trying to kill. So y'all did create a whole new thing but she was still a character that was attached to Michael Myers and someone, or Laurie Strode. So it's the same thing. So I feel like it's kind of tacky the way they went about it, and it's unfortunate, but Paramount, y'all can't sit and think that you could do this franchise and the fans are just going to be okay with it. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I will watch Scream when it comes out. Scream 6 when it comes out next year. I will check it out. I'm gonna watch it since it's taking place in New York, shot in Canada, but it's supposed to be like Ghostface Takes Manhattan and that sort of thing. And I did write the latest article on the 4 new cast members they did. They're bringing in to the new Scream 6 movie. So all the details is on KrisAvalon.com. But yeah, let's take a break. And when we come back for the next 45 minutes, we're going to get into these LGBT topics, including we're going to talk Lil Nas X. We're going to talk about Joe Biden getting a little political for the LGBT, fighting anti-LGBT state bills. The youth, the politicians are coming after drag kids and this idea. So we got RuPaul going after the homophobes and want to ban kids from drag shows. We're going to have that topic about Alyssa Edwards from last week about the bill trying to ban kids from drag shows. We're going to talk Chris Evans is coming in on the LGBT anti-gay critics of, there's a same-sex situation that's going on in Lightyear, and y'all about to get real mad because Disney is definitely painting it on thick with the queer characters. They're adding more, and I got some tea on that. That and a whole lot more. So don't go away. We'll be right back with more Kris Avalon Unfiltered. But let's take this little gay break first as I replenish my thirst.
Unfiltered, filtered, filtered, filtered.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Bryant, and I'm just here to let y'all know that June 9th, B-Boy Blues, the film, will be premiering on BET Plus, which features an exceptional cast that includes myself, and it's directed by the amazing Jussie Smollett and written by the iconic, remarkable James Earl Hardy. So make sure y'all tune in June 9th and get into the poster. Like being a white up here, but anyway, make sure y'all have your watch parties and listen out for that soundtrack because guess who's on it? Guess who's on it? This guy. But yeah, this movie includes drama, romance, sex, and my favorite part, which is beautiful black queer people. So make sure y'all tune in. B-Boy Blues, Young Kobe the God. Yeah.
Unfiltered, filtered, filtered, filtered.
Child, that beat never get old, don't it? All right, shout out to Brooklyn Juicy from the House of Juicy Couture. You know, we had to show her pumping at the ball. But anyway, welcome back to the second half of Kris Avalon Unfiltered, where we bring in the latest celebrity dish, hot topics, and LGBT news, all from this unfiltered ass mouth. That's the only way I know how to give it to you. Roll uncooked. Anyway, so let's get right into these topics. So we're halfway into Pride Month, and out artist Lil Nas X has a proposal. The rapper took to Twitter to present the following. For Pride Month, it's really important that our government finally takes a stand and adds bussy to the dictionary. Now, dictionary.com soon entered the chat by replying with the following. We added WAP to the dictionary, so anything's possible. Happy Pride indeed. Now, for those of you not familiar with gay vernacular, bussy is slang for boy, pussy. Now, in my opinion, here's hoping that dictionary.com comes through, because we have all kinds of things, in the Urban Dictionary. So why not add bussy? So shout out to Lil Nas X for that offer, and also shout out to Lil Nas X for being entered into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I believe he is the youngest artist ever to be inducted. So that's history in the making. That's a great feat for him. And I also heard, but I don't know if this is, well, it might be true. I saw it was floating around, that he has been in the studio with one half of Daft Punk. Now, I'm a Daft Punk fan. I know Kanye has worked with them in the past. Pharrell's worked with them on their music, I think he worked on the Daft Punk album, their last album that they came out with. And then they won the Grammys and all that stuff. It was a big year for them. So I've always been a Daft Punk fan. I love French house music, that sort of thing. So if Lil Nas X is in the studio with Daft Punk, or one half of them, that's a great, that's great news. I'm be willing to hear, if this is true, what they're working on. So hopefully it's, on a new album. So shout out to you, Nazi. Now, shout out to Joe Biden. I was like, ooh, music change. Shout out to Joe Biden, who just signed an executive order this past Wednesday aimed at combating a historic number of anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in state legislatures across the country. Now, the order will direct federal health and education agencies to expand access to gender-affirming care when advance LGBTQ inclusive learning environments at American schools. It will curb federal funding for the debunked practice of conversion therapy, which nearly every leading U.S. medical association has condemned, and ask the Federal Trade Commission to consider whether the practice constitutes an unfair or deceptive act. The president's order comes during LGBTQ Pride Month, and as advocates fight against a record number of anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in the states across the country this year, more than 320, according to the Human Rights Campaign, the nation's largest LGBTQ advocacy group. Saying the following: "We are in a battle for the soul of the nation," the president said to a group of LGBTQ activists and Democratic lawmakers at a White House signing ceremony on Wednesday. "And when I look around this room here and at all of you here today, it's a battle I know we will win. My message to all the young people: just be you. You are loved. You are understood. You do belong. I want you to know that as your president, all of us on this stage have your back." So, shout out to what all this is happening, I think it's great. But what people need to be aware of, that a bulk of the bills signed into law in recent months, 24 in 13 states, according to the HRC, aim to limit access to gender-affirming care for trans youth, prohibit trans girls and women from competing on girls' sports teams in school. Yeah, and you know who's behind that? That old troll, that she, Caitlyn Jenner. Fuck that bitch. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, but no, she ain't a part of our community." They have, we got, just like how black people have coons, like Candace Owens, Kanye West, and don't get me started on Herschel Walker. I don't know what do you call sellouts of the LGBTQ community? People who will sell out their own people for that gain to be within the elite of the Republican Party. We need to come up with a name for them. The Caitlyn Jenner types. There was another one. Who's the other one? The Aaron Shocks, Madison Cawthorn, Lindsey Graham. They not go on. A lot of those girls. So yeah, this is what people need to understand. This is what they're going at. Prohibit trans girls and women from competing on girls' sports teams in schools, and bar the instruction of LGBTQ issues. It's the same thing as they're trying to ban books about black people. Rob Smith, let's not forget about that. Joe Biden. So shout out to you for signing them bills. And hopefully we can combat this, because this is all a distraction for the bigger picture. So people need to realize, all of our rights are at stake from these clowns that don't want to do anything. But don't let that distract you from the whole, them not wanting to, denounce gun laws, and people buying semi-automatic weapons at 18. Now, speaking of people are at stake, a A drag event for young people was canceled after it was targeted with troubling threats. Now, youth drag shows have become the latest obsession for anti-LGBTQ bigots, with Republicans, including Representative, this ugly bitch, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that literally looks like Ron Perlman in drag, vowing to outlaw them. That political posturing is already spilling over into real-life violence and abuse. Shout out to Pink News for this story, by the way. On June 11th, a group of alleged Proud Boys stormed a drag queen storytime event in California, exposing children present to violent anti-LGBTQ slurs. Now a youth drag workshop and show in Moline, Illinois has been canceled after persistent threats towards participants and organizers caused safety concerns. The event was to take place on the 18th of June, which was on Saturday. That's today. Having been organized by LGBTQ plus nonprofit Clock Inc. But Clock Inc. was forced to cancel after it was deemed unsafe. Now, Executive Director Chase Norris said on Thursday afternoon that the decision was made after negativity and threats against the venue proved too substantial to ensure the safety of young attendees. We regret to inform you that out of an abundance of caution, we have canceled the youth drag workshop at Bay Street Landing this Saturday, Clock Inc. said on Facebook post. The safety of all involved is of the utmost importance, and with the current politicized climate and some threatening emails received at the venue, we feel it is in everyone's best interest to cancel. Now, this is unfortunate and it's crazy, and I hate the fact that this is happening, but you want to know something? One of the people I have to give a shout out to for all of this is RuPaul, who's speaking out about this whole situation. And I mimic her thoughts, and I'm gonna get my thoughts about it on a second, but since this was the perfect drag events. And I actually, you know what? I had this idea. I was like, you know what? Remember how they used to do like Project Runway Jr. and all that stuff? Where they had like kids designers. I was like, why don't we have like a kids drag competition show? That was something that was an idea that I still have, that I would love to host and executive produce. It was like, but then in the back of my mind, that fear started coming. It was like the reaction, and you see we're getting that reaction now. There are a lot of young kids, and I know they are y'all trying to push this gay shit on children, and it's like that's not what it is. It's drag is about expression. It's art. It's creativity. It's these kids coming into their own, and shows like Drag Race is inspiring a lot of young children who I've gone to Drag Con as media, where I've interviewed some of the girls, and I've gone around and I've worked at the event. The last time when they did it 3 years ago in New York, because they don't do Drag Con on the East Coast anymore. Apparently they were losing a lot of money. That's why they stopped it. When I was there, I would see so many kids. They were not only selling their own merch, because they would come out with their own eyelashes, their own makeup lines. There were kids who were becoming entrepreneurs in their own light because they were inspired by the art of drag and creativity. So they were buying booths and selling their own products there. So drag has helped children not only express themselves, but becoming baby entrepreneurs. And you get these fucking bigots out here who they all smell like meth and ass, coming in on these little kids and trying to scare them because y'all too pussy to be y'all fucking selves. Y'all think camouflage and fucking Uggs is fashion and creativity and art. So RuPaul went on the Late Late Show with James Corden and said that Texas Republican Brian Slanton has vowed to file a problematic bill that would So James Corden mentioned to RuPaul that Texas Republican, that's what I'm calling him, Brian Slanton, had vowed to file a problematic bill that would ban drag shows in the presence of minors in the state. Now, Slanton claims that legislation would be protecting kids from drag shows and other so-called inappropriate displays. Republican lawmakers in other states have now begun to introduce similar legislation, but Mama Ru doesn't have time for this bullshit. Now, Ru said that the attempts to ban kids from drag performances are just a diversion tactic being used by Republicans to distract people from important issues, which I just insinuated before I even read this article, in the U.S., like gun control. He says it's a diversion tactic to take the narrative away from the gun debate into something else, to scare people into thinking about something else, and they've been successful. The legendary Drag Race host continued, they have changed the narrative away from the gun debate into this drag queen thing. Y'all want to help your kids? Take away them guns. That will help your kids. Drag queens ain't hurt nobody. You're born naked and the rest is drag. Everybody in drag, okay. Everybody's in drag, okay. Child, please. Which is absolutely right. I mean, when you're out of your clothes, you're yourself. But when you put clothes on, that is a form of drag. You see my shirt, drag hag? Up in here, drag hag. That's basically, you know, we all use clothes as a form of expression. That's our drag. Drag isn't technically, okay, put on a dress and a wig. We all put on our little regalias to express ourselves. But to me, I do agree with this. It's like, this is all a distraction from the bigger issue. They know gun issues, gun violence is a problem. Y'all ain't never heard of a drag queen going up into somewhere, shooting a bunch of people and killing them. Y'all ain't never heard no drag queen, you read no book where they're spewing anti any kind of hatred towards any marginalized groups. You ain't never seen that. None of the books they're reading are problematic. With drag queen story time, I know drag queens who have done drag queen story time. If I'm not mistaken, Harmonica Sunbeam did drag queen story time. Shout out to her. Iconic drag queen. Comedy queen. One of the first drag queens I ever saw when I was old enough to start going to clubs in New York. And this is around the time, shout out to Escalita, made that recipe. That was an iconic club, urban club. So there've been people that have done Drag Queen Story Hour, and drag queens have been a huge influence on a lot of our culture. And if you watch Drag Race, it definitely has opened up a lot of hearts and minds. And it goes to show that, we still have a long way to go in regards of this small group of bigots not overtaking the fears of this country. It's always this minority groups, these small little fringe groups that get to overshadow a lot of what's really going on. So stop listening to that white noise over there and give what's really need to be given. So we're going to get into the Chris Evans story in a second, but let's finish out on, I need to bring up this story from last, Mr. Edwards. Is a proud Texas queen and is basically taken to social media to react to a proposed bill that aims to ban drag shows in the presence of minors in Texas. A very problematic legislation proposal comes from Republican politician, as I mentioned, this idiot, Brian Slayton, and calls drag performers perverted adults who are obsessed with sexualizing young children. Everybody knows that sexuality and gender identity is two different things. Drag is not about sex, although you can incorporate sex into your act, which a lot of adult drag queens do. Not all of them. There are different aspects of drag. There's fetish drag. There's comedic drag. There's gender fuck drag. There's all different types of drag, but they like to just throw everything under one little umbrella and think like, okay, let's just minimize what drag is. The art of it. So Edwards tweeted out a reaction to the bill proposal in the state of Texas. My thoughts. Number one, our God is a God of love. Number two, parents are a child first and most important teacher / role model. Number three, drag is an art form, which is subjective. Number four, you, sir, have tweeted more about #drag than the laws at #Uvalde. It's this truly about children or politics? #priorities. So, I love when my drag queens get political. I know a lot of people think that drag is all about just, looking pretty and getting on stage and just doing a pop, dip, and spin to your favorite, dance track. But no, there's also political drag. There are a lot of political drag queens. One of them being Bob the Drag Queen is a political queen. There's a lot of political queens that are out there that have been fighting the good fight and doing the act of pro. If you ever listen to Lady Bunny is one of the most political queens that I know. So shout out to her. And shout out to Alyssa Edwards for using her platform to speak out. But this is not the only thing he's advocated for. This idiot, Slayton, has advocated for the criminalization of abortion in 2021 in a bill that didn't even make exceptions for cases of rape and incest. The politician is currently also working on legislation that would label gender reassignment procedures on minors as child abuse. So we have to be vigilant. We have to be aware of politicians are doing. And you know what? I know like the big elections, you know, the major elections with the president stuff, that is important. But what people need to realize that those midterm elections, those are the game changers. Those are the ones that really make a difference. I'm not saying that the bigger ones don't, but the midterms is vitally important. So I believe in November is when the midterm elections are of this year. So make sure you get y'all asses out there. Make sure y'all paying attention to these politicians that are gonna cause havoc on our democracy, and make sure we get those motherfuckers out, because they ain't doing us no favors by keeping these bitches in. So we need to be vigilant. We need to vote. And shout out to production who just let me know that early voting started today in New York City. I did not know that. So the more you know, Gert. I've been dealing with my own political shit behind the scenes when I'm working with Department of Health. That's a whole nother conversation that I've been talking to behind the scenes and things changing with that. That's the job that pays the bills. So I ain't gonna get into that. I'm trying to get fired. So I'm gonna keep that to myself. But yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of crazy stuff going on this past week. So yeah, but in regards of voting, definitely get out there and let your voices be heard and vote, because voting does matter. No matter what these motherfuckers say. Don't let them get complacent. Don't let them get comfortable. So let's move on to Kris Evans. Shout out to him, my baby daddy, America's ass. Kris Evans is speaking out about the homophobes who had a problem with a same-sex kiss that happens in the new movie Lightyear, which I'm hearing is struggling to outpace Jurassic World. Now, I told y'all I saw Jurassic World last week, and that movie was a piece of shit. But overall, I'm still going to talk about this movie, and I hope enough people see it. So Kris Evans is taking a stand against anyone criticizing Lightyear for featuring a gay kiss between two female characters. The actor recently, shout out to Variety for this story, I should say, the actor recently told Reuters that film and TV viewers who oppose diversity and more inclusive on-screen representation are idiots who will eventually die off like dinosaurs, speaking of Jurassic World. Evans said it's important not to pay any attention to such toxic viewers and criticisms. Now, as Variety exclusively reported in March, Pixar restored the gay kiss in Lightyear after uproar from staffers over the decision to remove it. The kiss is brief and is included during a montage sequence that depicts the life of Hawthorne, voiced by Uzo Aduba. The character has a wife and two women are seen kissing. Several territories, including Saudi Arabia, have banned Lightyear after Disney refused to cut the scene. Well, fuck Saudi Arabia. The real truth is that these people are idiots, Evans told Reuters about critics of on-screen representation. Every time there's been social advancement, as we wake up, the American story, the human story, is one of constant social awakening and growth. That is what makes us good, the actor added. There's always going to be people who are afraid and unaware and trying to hold on to what was before. But those people die off like dinosaurs. I think the goal is to pay them no mind, march forward, and embrace the growth that makes us human. And what people need to realize is that oh, and he also said that it's wonderful and makes me happy. It's tough to not be a little frustrated that it even has to be a topic of discussion if it is this kind of news. The goal is that we can get to a point where it is the norm and that this doesn't have to be some uncharted waters, and that eventually this is just the way it is. The representation across the board is how we make films. And what people need to realize is that, you know what, at the end of the day, we as people, we as human beings, we want to be seen, want to be heard, want to be represented. And if people are going to have problems with seeing people that are different than them, because they're, what about the kids? What about this? What about that? You don't think your children are going to school and seeing, encountering trans children, gay children, same-sex relationships? You think that it being shown in a movie or a cartoon is the only time that a lot of these younger generation of children are being exposed to LGBTQ people? It's not. Like, now we're more exposed, but when I was younger, I was around gay people. I was one of them. But, a lot of us were hiding in the closet and standing there because out of fear of being beat up and still there are people that have to worry about that. But the times are changing. And I feel like as artists, we have to continue to push the envelope. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. We have to force Hollywood to, you know what? As like Billy Eichner said last week, on the surface, they try to perpetuate themselves as very liberal, very open to the idea of, yeah, gay people accepting, we're all for that. But when the substance of it comes out, that real love and support isn't really there because they're fixated on stereotypes, how easily identifiable queer people are in media, and how we have to perpetuate a certain stereotypes so that way we make people feel comfortable. Those people, the people who aren't really familiar with queer people aren't around them. So shout out to Chris Evans, who also has a gay brother, I should point out, Scott Evans, who was on One Life to Live, and he's done a couple of movies here and there. So shout out to Chris Evans and continuing to speak out when he needs to. Now, shout out to my girl Whoopi Goldberg, who saw journalist Andrew Hornery, for unintentionally outing actress Rebel Wilson. So we talked about Rebel Wilson last week, where she was outed. Well, apparently she had come out as a lesbian. Well, she's in a same-sex relationship, I should say. I'm not going to put no label on her, but I don't think that she came and put a label on herself, so I'm not going to do that. She came out and said she's in a relationship with a girl. She was thinking all her life she'd found her Prince Charming, but she found her princess. But what I didn't know is that there was a journalist, and I think I talked about this last week, but unintentionally, where I was talking about how in the past we've had people like Neil Patrick Harris and Ricky Martin and what the hell's his name? Lance Bass and so many others who were quintessentially outed against their will by a lot of media. And I was like, well, at this point, people could take their own narrative in their own hands and pretty much go on social media and take control over their own careers by outing themselves instead of waiting on Hollywood to pretty much do it exclusive with People magazine or something. But what I didn't know, but after the show, this story came out that she was going to be outed by a journalist. Now, the Sydney Morning Herald revealed it had approached Wilson before her Instagram postings. It had asked her to comment on her new relationship and gave her 2 days to respond before running a story. The paper's gossip columnist, Andrew Hornery, apologized this week, writing, "My email was never intended to be a threat." Okay, sis. But to make it clear, I was sufficiently confident with my information and to open a conversation. No, you basically were threatening to out her if she didn't let you have the fucking exclusive. That's what that is. And the worst part is he a damn homosexual his fucking self. Those are the worst people. Your own damn people trying to out you. Niche, you wanted a moment and she beat your ass to it. That's what it is. And shout out to Rebel Wilson for taking her own narrative and getting ahead of it. Now, it is not the Herald's business to out people, and that is not what we are set out to do, but I understand why my email has been seen as a threat. The framing of it was a mistake. And here's what he added. The last thing I would ever want to do is inflict that pain on someone else. Well, Whoopi Goldberg talked about this on The View and called bullshit on his little commentary and his apology. There's a lot of speculation that Rebel came out to get ahead of a tabloid story in the Sydney Morning Herald about her relationship. Now, the man who wrote it even apologized, saying it was never my intention to out her. Well, you know that's not true. She added, if it wasn't your intention, you wouldn't have done it. If you didn't want to do it, you shouldn't have done it. You knew exactly what you were doing. And The View's co-host Sarah Haynes agreed, noting that Wilson was treated unfairly, saying, I would not give a quote to talk to a place that's forcing me to tell a story that I'm not ready to tell. Wilson, for her part, has said on Twitter that she tried to handle it with grace, but that the situation was hard. And I'll say this, it is no one's right to out anybody and to force them to come out when they're not ready. This journalist was not in the right. You wanted a moment. You wanted to go viral. You wanted the exclusive because it was going to help your career in some sort of way. So just be honest and say that. So you tell them, I'm going to give you 2 days to give me an exclusive. or to comment, or to comment on it. Otherwise, I'm going public with the story. And then here she goes, you know what? I'm going to just come out. Because now he's forcing my hand. And now we got to take the picture. I got to go on Instagram. I got to write this whole linking thing. And we sat and applauded it. Because she took her decision and took the reins on the narrative. And it's unfortunate that I had to come to this. Because this is what you still have to deal with. You got to deal with messy ass journalists. With quiet as it's kept, journalism is a dying art form. Because a lot of people are going to the internet to get their tea. A lot of people are coming to shows like mine to get their tea. And journalism is a dying art form. Unfortunately, it is. And I love journalism. I respect the art of journalism. But it's a dying art form because people aren't reading newspapers and magazines anymore. Everything is accessible on social media. And a lot of us are taking a lot of these stories and quoting it and putting our own spin and energy and narrative on it. I mean, I'm bringing you the tea as it is. I'm not trying to make up shit. I ain't Tasha K. But I'm going to give y'all the tea the way it was given and giving my opinion on it. It's an opinion show. So it's unfortunate that Rebel Wilson had to deal with this shit and the many other celebrities over the years who have had to deal with this. And shout out, I think Queerty did a whole article on the people who were outed against their will. So you can go on their website and check that out. I would have read it here, but I don't have that window open. We got 10 minutes to finish off this show. And I got 3 more topics left. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to Rebel. Shout out to Whoopi. And let's move on. So remember a couple of episodes ago when we talked about Burger King and the whole 2 tops and 2 bottoms thing for Pride. And basically it was they basically call the tops bun a crown and the bottom bun is called the heel. So it's not about tops and bottoms. So I thought it was hilarious because I love a good joke. You know, I love a dick joke. I love an offensive joke. I like a cheeky joke. And I thought Burger King was being funny. And it feels like the gays have lost their sense of humor because once upon a time, a wise woman by the name of the dearly departed Joe Rivers said, you can take a dick, you can take a joke. But apparently a lot of you bitches out here can't take dick. Because y'all clearly damn sure can't take a joke. So they're issuing an apology because they received backlash over the Pride Whopper. Now the ad features burgers with matching buns, including one with 2 tops and one with 2 bottoms. Unfortunately, we still messed up and didn't check well enough with community members. Who are these fucking community members? On different interpretations of the Pride Whopper, the agency said. Burger King Austria is trying to work its way out of a Whopper of a PR gaffe. The fast food chain's advertising agency issued an apology on Sunday for a much ridiculed tone-deaf marketing campaign announcing the Pride Whopper, a burger served with 2 matching buns. The ad, in which was first featured in Burger King Austria's Instagram page on June 1st, includes, okay, why are they writing the same damn thing more than once? YouTube News, Yahoo News, get it together. So now, Jung von Matt Duneau, the German agency that worked on the campaign for Burger King Austria, wrote in a LinkedIn post that it didn't check well enough with community members, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But they said the intended mention of the Pride Whopper was to spread equal love and equal rights. Our strongest concern is that we offend members of the LGBT. Who are these people that y'all offended? Because I damn sure wasn't. And these uptight fucking queens don't speak for the entire community. I know I don't speak for them either. But in my opinion, I thought it was funny. There was a lot of people I know that thought it was funny too. So there's a whole bunch of other things that we need to be more concerned about. Y'all being upset over a fucking burger. Like, please. I knew that wouldn't work well in America because, you know, y'all so damn uptight when it comes to sex anyway. That y'all prefer to do it in back alleys instead of people knowing about it. But I digress. Burger King, I don't see the issue, but apparently, you know, people just be so damn uptight and whatever. So Tom Hanks is talking and says he couldn't play a gay man on film in 2022, and he's okay with that. Now, in a new interview published by the New York Times Magazine, the Academy Award-winning actor has discussed shifting cultural attitudes as they relate to some of his previous work, including his role in Philadelphia. Now, in the acclaimed 1993 film directed by the late Jonathan Demme, Hanks played a gay corporate lawyer who successfully sues his former law firm for firing him for being HIV positive. Now, Hanks won his first Oscar role for the role in '94. But in the Times interview, the beloved actor who stars in Baz Luhrmann's new biopic Elvis agrees with journalist David Marchese's suggesting that there is no way a straight actor will be cast in the lead of Philadelphia today. I beg to differ, but we're just going to entertain this. Could a straight man do what I did in Philadelphia now? No, and rightly so, Hank says. He goes on to suggest that the film's success was due in part to his participation, which may have put viewers at ease. And the whole point of Philadelphia was don't be afraid. One of the reasons people weren't afraid of the movie was that I was playing a gay man. He also expresses belief that Hollywood has changed for the better in terms of authentic representation of LGBTQ characters, saying that we are beyond that now, and I don't think people would accept the inauthenticity of a straight guy playing a gay guy. It's not a crime. It's not boo-hoo that someone would say that we're going to demand more of a movie in the modern realm of authenticity. Well, you know, Tom, I applaud you for believing in lollipops and rainbows and that sort of thing, but guess what? I'm going to have to disagree with you. And that's because while, yeah, we are seeing a surge in LGBTQ representation, shout out to Jesse James Cartel, who, a trans woman who not only on Queer as Folk, but she just appeared in an episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, did a phenomenal job on that show. I love her character on Queer as Folk, as much as I don't particularly like where they've got the vibe and the energy of Queer as Folk. I have to say she did a phenomenal job with the role that she plays on there, and I thought she did a great job playing the different emotional beats that she portrayed on Strange New Worlds. And I love seeing that we getting trans representation on Star Trek. It's long overdue. Child, can I say this actor that's playing Spock? Oh, he can get it. But anyway, no, I digress. Now back to the show. We are seeing a lot of LGBTQ representation in TV and streaming services, not necessarily in movies. Yeah, we had Fire Island. That's on Hulu. I'm looking forward to Bros. That's going to be the first big major rom-com featuring a queer cast, 2 gay leads. That's coming out in September. Oh my God, who is she on Kris? So I'm glad I got my book here with my notes. Give me a second, please hold, please hold, please hold, please hold. She plays Ruthie. She's the one that is in a relationship with Cher, who she's a trans character. She's in a relationship with Cher, who they have the twins via Brody's sperm. So she's on Star Trek in the recent episode that just aired on Thursday. No, she's a white girl. The black girl is non-binary. Cher is the black girl. Ruthie is the white girl. But anyway, I know I'm talking about the scene, but I'm like, who's she? Who would she play on the show? But I'm like, okay, so now back to the show because we got 5 minutes left and I want to get to the Jared Carmichael show. You're welcome, girl. But in cinema, straight people are still playing queer LGBTQ roles and getting rewarded for it. So that's where we still have a long way to go in regards of real LGBTQ representation. When we see that on the big screen and we see a Matt Bomer or a Michaela J. Rodriguez or a Billy Porter or a Neil Patrick Harris or any of those elite actors getting those, or even Billy Eichner in a major or Joel Kim Booster, who did Fire Island. When we see them in major roles on the big screen and they're getting Oscar nominations for it, then I'll believe you, Tom Hanks. Until then, we understood why things was done at the time in Philadelphia because people were afraid of AIDS. AIDS was still vilified in the 90s. And you playing that role because you're America's sweetheart, male form, it eased the minds of the American people who, in their mind, and still to this day, Tom Hanks could do no wrong. So shout out to you, and I'm glad you're optimistic. But I just had facts of facts, and I had to be real on it. So now, our final topic. Let's talk about Jared Carmichael, who is not holding back in regards to Dave Chappelle's anti-trans comments. Now, in a new profile with GQ, Jared Carmichael addressed the nature of cancel culture, Dave Chappelle, and the fallout of his family after coming out in the intimate comedy special Rothaniel, which premiered on HBO earlier this year. Now, during a frank conversation with the magazine, the typically private comedian reflected on the encouraging response from his niece and why he has faith in the younger generation, which led to him opening up about his thoughts, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Now, when talking about Dave Chappelle, here's what he said. Do you know what comes up when you Google your name, bro? That's the legacy. Your legacy is a bunch of opinions on trans shit. It's an odd hill to die on, and it's like, hey, bro, what the fuck? Who the fuck are you? Who do you fuck? What do you like to do? Childish jokes aside, who the f are you? It's just kind of played, but he's choosing to die on that hill, so all right, let him. Well, it's easier. I think it's easier to say that, and I know. Welcome to the family, Jared. Like, you just coming out now and being welcome to the fold of the LGBTQ community. I know you just, you just got your braces taken off. You just started dipping your all 10 toes into the LGBTQ pond. Like you're fresh, you're wet behind the ears and all that stuff. But slow your roll, pump your brakes. I just have to say, while I get what you're saying, I don't agree with it. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because outside of the LGBTQ media and the LGBTQ community complaining about Dave Chappelle, and don't get me wrong, and don't misconstrue, I'm not a fan of Dave Chappelle. I don't think his humor is funny. I don't get into his comedy. But Dave has talked about a lot of social political commentary or things that goes on in people's lives and that sort of thing when it comes to talking about, what's going on in the world. And yes, his past 2 Netflix specials have focused so much on trans people and the trans community. But I think outside of that little queer bubble, the rest of the people that pay attention to Dave Chappelle don't agree with what you're saying, and he is not going to die on that vine. He may in our community, but not necessarily outside of that, because there are black people, there are people, women, men, whatever, people outside that world that white people support Dave Chappelle and what he's about, what he says. So while I understand where you're coming from with that, I don't think that that's the hill he's going to die on. Now, when he come out with his next Netflix special, he's still falling on trans people. He pulling that little Boosie shit where he's talking about all of that, then I get it. Then we could sit and revisit this conversation. But for the most part, I just don't agree. I think just in our bubble, it's just, we see it that way, but outside of that, people still will ride for Dave Chappelle and whatever the fuck he says and how he is with his comedy. So on that note, we are down to the wire. It is the end of the show. Please join us next week for a brand new episode of Kris Avalon Unfiltered, where I will bring you the latest in celebrity dish, hot topics, and LGBT news, and a whole lot more. Also, movie reviews, TV reviews, all that good stuff. So, it's a hodgepodge. It's a moose boosh of so much that we talk about on the show. Please follow on my social media platforms. I love you all for watching. Love you all for paying attention. I love you all for following. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good shit. Until next time, ciao, darlings. See you. Until we meet again. Until we...
Unfiltered, filtered, filtered, filtered.